Hello everyone, I'm Hardik from marketing team at KJSCE CodeCell, and I welcome you all to our first podcast along with our alumni named Alumni Podcast Figuring Out. Alumni Podcast Simplify Your Journey. So जितने भी हमारे पास एलुमनाइज है ये एवरीवन कॉलेज से लेके अभी तक लाइफ में फोड़ रहे हैं भाई बहुत ज्यादा फोड़ रहे हैं बहुत ग्राइंड किया है इन लोगों ने तो यार फर्स्ट ऐसे क्लैपिंग दे दो यार थोड़े से रिएक्शन दे दो इन लोग के लिए एलुमनाइज के लिए तो कहाँ से चालू करें इंट्रोडक्शन से करें क्या पहले एक बार एलुमनाइज को जान लेते हैं कौन कौन ज्वाइन इन कर गए एंड देयर आर फ्यू हु आर yet to come they will join in shortly they are some busy with the person so first of all we have Vatsal sir hello sir hi बोल दो एक बार सब लोग को
Hey everyone. Not sir, first name only. So Vatsal is good. Good to see everyone.
No, for Vatsal we should use sir.
yeah
Hey, अपने टेक इंडस्ट्री
यार every alumni listens to sir
कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं रहता यार टेक इंडस्ट्री में there's no sir मैडम
True.
सर बोलेगा तो पैसा मिलेगा लेकिन
अरे क्या बात है तो वत्सल सर इन्होंने लाइफ में ये हमारे कोचल के लेजेंड गॉडफादर है इन्होंने he was a principal and he is a principal and CTO at 100x VC. He is a partner at Web3 Meta Ventures and 2AM Ventures. He has founded over 127 companies. भाई कितना बड़ा नंबर है एक बार सोच लो गिनती कर लो 127 companies. It's a big number. He is a former tech intern analyst. He was a tech intern analyst at Morgan Stanley also. तो यार और एक बार hats off to you sir. थोड़े क्लैपिंग से एक और बार दे दो सर के लिए सही है तो नेक्स्ट हमारे पास निशित सर है हेलो सर
Hello everyone. Hi.
यार तो निशित सर इन्होंने भी बहुत कुछ उखाड़ा लाइफ में he's a backend engineer at local AI. He was a Google Summer of Code intern in 2021. भाई salute to you sir.
So next we have Karan sir, Karan Agrawal sir. Hi बोल दो सबको.
Hey everyone.
So he is also one of the greatest members. He is currently front-end lead at Spear Technologies and he has also served as software development engineer at ERP Next, Frappe Technologies. तो भाई और एक बार clappings हो जाए इनके लिए भी.
so anybody जिसको लगता है कि academically थोड़ा struggle है लाइफ में पर कुछ होगा कि नहीं लाइफ में Karan is the guy you should talk to. वो अपना स्टोरी बताएगा आगे कभी ना कभी but
Yes.
बंदा फाड़ है so you should hear his story.
Definitely we have questions for all of you. आप लोग से पूरा ऐसे knowledge निचोड़ लेंगे आज हम लोग. Yes. So next we have Hetal ma'am. Hetal. Yes. Hi बोल दो सबको.
Please don't call ma'am.
अरे क्यों नहीं यार the seniors and alumni reserve sir and ma'am यार ऐसे मत बोलो. So yeah, Hetal ma'am is she was a software intern at Google and now she is serving as a software developer engineer at Google. So big salute. She also played an integral role as a software engineer at Reliance. So भाई बहुत उखाड़ा लाइफ में और एक बार clappings हो जाए. Yes, so moving on, we have Karan Sheth sir. Hello बोल दो सबको.
Hello everyone.
Yeah, so Karan sir, he is a software development engineer at Bloomberg right now. Amazing. And he has also served as Meta product security engineer intern at Meta. So hats off, एक बार clappings. And also, so Jayesh sir has cracked GSOC, Google Summer of Code twice. एक बार हमारा नहीं होता इन्होंने 2 बार करके रखा है
क्या बात है
और ये तो छोड़ो उन्होंने गूगल समर ऑफ कोड में एज अ मेंटर भी अप्लाई किया था ही वाज अ मेंटर ऑफ अ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सो हैट्स ऑफ टू यू सर ही और ये तो कुछ भी नहीं है चलो ये 2 चीजें हो गई इनका गूगल के साथ रिश्ता खत्म ही नहीं हुआ है ही वाज आल्सो गूगल डेवलपर स्टूडेंट कमिटी लीड एट केजे सोमैया कॉलेज ऑफ इंजीनियरिंग तो भाई हैट्स ऑफ टू यू सर So we have Devant sir.
यार सर मत बोल यार
अरे सब सर डिजर्व करते हैं यार. So Devant sir, he he is currently placed at JP Morgan, software developer, and इन्होंने Microsoft में internship कर रखा
Congratulations.
है. He was also MLSA of KJSCE College of Engineering in his third year. So hats off to you, sir. We have many seniors who have joined in. So let's start with our session. Exactly हम क्या करने वाले हैं. So engineering is overwhelming, right? And often we end up being confused and mixed up with mixed up feelings.
Hardik.
Yes, yes,
So
sir.
we have one more छुपा हुआ senior here, by the way. जिसका नाम
हाँ
रिया ने
two more
Wow, sir.
रोशांग एंड
मुझे
चिराग
चिराग
बहुत आते
शेट्टी
हैं
दिखे.
चिराग शेट्टी
रोशांग भी है उसने वीडियो ऑफ कर दिया
Oh, why? कर लो on.
So I'll give an introduction to Chirag. Chirag was a CodeCell member from I think 17 onwards, 17 to 19 he was part of CodeCell, and he was a committee head in 18-19 year. And he won multiple hackathons along with his team. It was him, Neil, Nishchit, and Shivam. All four of them were CodeCell members, and they used to win like 6-7 hackathons every year. And currently he's SD2 at Browser Stack in Bombay.
so
Correct.
Roshang was a member just after Chirag. Actually, Chirag hired or selected us as CodeCell members, and we learned from Chirag to go to hackathons. So Roshang, me, Hetal, and Akshay and Aditya, we five used to go to hackathons together. Roshang then after college joined Morgan Stanley for a year, and after that now he is currently a student Masters of Computer Engineering here at NYU in New York. So yeah, and I think he's also currently doing an internship at NYU, summer internship as well. But he's in India right now, so if anyone wants to meet him, just ping him and you can pick his brains.
like shit for 24 hours.
क्या बात है,
Yeah,
sir.
more 24 hours more.
So shall we start with the session? Yes, thumbs up. Okay. So engineering थोड़ा overwhelming हो जाता है, and we often end up being confused with our mixed feelings. तो seniors ने कैसे किया भाई? Academics और non-stop grinding ये सब साथ में कैसे हो रहा है उनका? तो चलो उनसे ही पूछते हैं. So seniors, get ready to answer the questions that the F5s and we have. So first question से start करें. तो what inspired you to pursue and get educated in technology? Do you feel that it was the right path? तो इसका आंसर कौन करना चाहेगा? वत्सल सर, आप ही चालू करो.
देवांश ऐसा खो खो मत खेल तू मेरे साथ. Yeah, I am very happy being in tech. I think we're in a space where there's just
वत्सल, you can
yeah.
continue.
So tech is where everything is right now. Indian tech scene is booming. Everybody knows, right? Developers are getting paid a lot. Lot of tech startups getting funded. Lots of innovation happening. Software is eating the world. So no regrets for sure on my end in joining tech and in joining engineering generally.
Sure, like tech is also like another place where you can do a lot of different things. Like it's not necessary you have to end up in a technical company, but if you're interested in any other company, like if you're interested in finance, health, merchandising, any aspect of life, you can find a tech role in that job and then learn that space and then do whatever you want. So probably that's why this is one of the most fluid places of learning and just exploring what you like. So it's that was my choice to continue with it.
Well said, Hetal. So
Yeah, that's actually true. Just adding on, being in tech is kind of one of the few ways you get to be a generalist because software has applications to every single field. whether it's finance, whether it's pharma, whether it's biology, whether it's I mean, wherever you go, math and CS has applications in general. So it's a really good space to be if you want to get into other fields as well.
Yeah, true. So we move on to our next question. Interesting one. What are the memorable days you missed during your engineering days? Were they useful?
I think I can go for this. I think there
Yeah.
are a lot of them. Uh, the thing about that is you don't appreciate it while you are a part of it. And then retrospectively, when something happens, you start appreciating, oh, this thing had happened and I enjoy that. There are there's not one significant memory that I have in particular, but a lot of small things which are unconnected dots which eventually end up connecting. For example, we during my time I had a group of 2 or 3 people who I used to hang out with, who then also became my co-colleagues in my year's CodeCell, right? And we used to just work with each other and solve questions for fun. And after that, it ended up that we started learning and then collaborating with each other. And someone used to bring something new to the table, and everyone used to go through it. So he'll study something new. He'll let us know a new technology in place, which he'll start working on, and then we'll get used to it. And that's how you upskill each other in the entire process, right? And each one of you end up being a better person out of it. And that's how we initially started with a place where we had one guy who just used to do front end. We used to push him every time you'll do the front end, and then eventually he was fed up, so someone else picked up front end, and then someone used to do back end, someone used to always ideate on things, so on and so forth, right? So there are a lot of things that would happen which at this point of time in college won't seem relevant to you, small things, but at the end of the day, most irrelevant things, they end up connecting, and you will understand how it ended up being impacting you.
Nice. See, that actually aligns with Steve Jobs once said in this interview that he took calligraphy in his life in his college career, and he did not knew how it would end up in his life, but it actually was useful when he was developing the Macintosh.
Exactly.
Yeah, very well said. So anyone
Just to
else?
extend, yeah, just to
Yeah,
extend on that answer, like it's good to be developing skills, but at the same time, enjoy your 4 years in bachelor's because that is the best time of your life, the time that you get with the friends. The way we did it, like in after joining CodeCell, was we went to hackathons together. So we did not just learn, but we got to visit a lot of places. Hackathons was our team's way to explore not just India but the world on with a reason. Like we are going to places not just for an IV, not just to go and chill, but we always had a reason to go. Okay, we are going for a hackathon and we'll also explore the city and surrounding places. uh, with that, we explored South India. We went to Pune, we went to Finland, we went to a lot of different places. So hackathons and conferences and attending events, tech events, can be a way for that, and you can do that with your friends. You don't have to do that alone, or you don't have to find people online. So while you are learning, you can also enjoy your life at the same time. Just make sure that you do both.
yes.
Yeah, and I think one thing I love about those 4 years was I had a chance to experiment with a lot of things. Right, when most of us, when we enter college, we're all only thinking, कि, okay, placement, kabhi hoga, kaise hoga, job, right? But the idea is in these 4 years you get to I did debate team, I did drama team, I did CodeCell, of course. I was in the table tennis team, and you do a lot of these things in whatever interests you have, and they all kind of add up over time, right? Because I was in drama team or debate team, my communication skills were up to the mark, and I'm able to communicate very well in my job, which is kind of 90% just speaking, right? So yeah, I think it's important to just make sure you spread yourself wide and explore all your interests in these 4 years.
That was very nice. Okay, so I think we will move to our next question. This is a good one. What are the things that you thought were a waste of time and would recommend the audience to avoid these things? तो ऐसा कोई है आपके लाइफ में? I mean सबके लाइफ में ये होगा ही.
College internships.
So
Oh,
true. man.
why? Why college internships? Which kind? The in-house college internships, you mean? Oh, okay. Makes sense.
I also have few hot takes on it. So, as Devans mentioned, college internship and then unpaid internship at some like startup which has not gotten any funding as well. Like doing those kind of internship in 3 years doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to someone else. So yeah, those are the
Let's say
also attending lectures.
unpaid internships are fine in my opinion. Like if
I think
the
it's
place is
not
actually good.
good when you are in third year. So in the first or second year, it's good. Like you get to learn something. But according to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense in third year.
No,
Third or
I
fourth
think
year.
the reverse paid internships don't make sense ever.
Yeah.
They should not exist.
That
Like
is a
you should not
scam
be
actually.
paying to work for someone. Never do that in any scenario. Like they will say that you will get this Google certification or Amazon certification. Please don't fall for that. I have seen people pay upwards of 20,000 rupees for 3 months for that. Please don't do that.
Yep.
Also adding on to this, don't do internships under the pressure of your professor कि यार प्रोफेसर की आंख में खराब हो जाएगा अगर उसको ना बोला तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. Just to do the internships which you get online and paid. Just professors के under करने से ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा. So yeah, just keep that in mind. क्योंकि बहुत लोग आए and पूछा भी है कि यार ये प्रोफेसर मुझे पूछ रहा है कि if I do this internship under them, then it will be helpful for my CV or something. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. Do an internship which aligns with your resume and what you want to do further. And कोई प्रोफेसर के डर में मत करो कोई भी internship. That's all.
देवांश ये बात ना मेरे टर्म्स में कह रहा है बिकॉज एफवाई में मैंने ही उसे पूछा था और उसने मुझे 15 मिनट में कन्विंस किया था कि मत कर, तो वो उसी टर्म्स में बोल रहा है.
One more thing to add on the internship thing. So in the early years, if you're not getting some good internship, it's better to do your personal project, like create any GitHub project and start working on it. It's fine, like you're not getting internship, but later on that project will actually help you to get on internship. So that you can do.
Also apply to programs like MLH. यहाँ पे है ना अपने seniors MLH वाले. Please take it forward.
Programs like MLH, GSOC, LFX,
Yeah.
all this.
And
think
try
one
contributing
more-
to online. Yeah, go on.
One more misconception that I find among early engineering folks in first and second year is doing paid certifications on Coursera, EDX, and all those platforms, right? The motive of enroll, I am not against going for paid courses. Go for it whenever you want it. But the incentive should not be showing off that certificate on your LinkedIn or someplace else. Rather, if it is upskilling you, then go for it, right? The end goal of this should not be you already doing a course of something that you already know of, just so that at the end of it, you get a certificate to prove that you know it. Rather, build a project or do something which proves that, because no company who is going to hire you or anything that you are going to do is ever going to believe you on the basis of that certification, because everyone knows that examination or something, whatever is needed in order to get those certifications, can be fooled around with, right? So that is one common misconception that I find among early engineering students. Eventually, they get a hang of it by the time they reach third and fourth year and say, okay, this is pointless, and no one ends up doing it.
Anyways, on another note, I think people, as Chirag said, try to go for these paid courses. I have seen people posting on LinkedIn, like taking out printouts of Coursera courses, keeping it on a bed or something, and taking photo of like 14 certificates at the same time. Not sure what's the point in that. Never understood it. Don't do that. It's not necessary. Learn the basics. Don't go for like flashy things like learning directly MLAI. first learn the basics, learn data structures, learn algorithms, and don't go for that. I think Somaya did a very weird thing wherein they totally changed the portion and now you have those flashy topics instead of basics. Please focus on basics. That I don't know why professors decided to do that. Did not make sense to me. Make sense to some people, but that's just my hot take.
Speaking of interns, right? How did you guys crack your first intern, or how was that experience? Because till we get that first intern, we are always nervous, right? Ki milega, nahi milega. So, how was your experience, Nishit? How about you?
So during my first year, like I didn't do any internship. I just contributed to some open source organization and created few of my personal project. And second year, I did my GSOC. It is not considered as an internship. It's a project or fellowship, you can say. And third year, I got the internship, proper internship at the same company where I'm working right now. So it was also very interesting. So I first joined as a 2 months intern. Then that got extended to 6 months. That got extended to 1 year, and that eventually got extended to a full-time job. So yeah, that's about it. And
Amazing.
interestingly, so how I got this internship is also like a really nice thing. So I got it because I did GSOC. So when I did GSOC, we for that 2021 batch, we created a WhatsApp group which include all the Indian GSOCers of 2021. So someone in that group shared about this internship at local AI. So that's how I got to know about this internship, and that's how I got this opportunity. So yeah.
Amazing. What about others? Yeah.
So in my case, I got it through a cold email in my second year. I was just so there's this organization called LVP MITRA, LVP Mitra, run by Ramesh Raska, who's a professor in MIT, and LV Prasad Eye Hospital in Hyderabad. So Ramesh Raskar had come to Somaya, and that's how in for a session in the auditorium, and that's how I realized he runs these research programs. And so I cold emailed them, and I chased them a lot. I literally followed on with 15 emails to get a response out of them. So you will have to do that when you're doing cold emails. And I got in. The good part being, post me getting in, they liked my performance so much that they, for the next almost 3 vacations, or what are 6 years, sorry, 6 vacations, 3 years, we had at least one intern from Somaya going every winter and every summer. So one way to think about this is also reach out to your seniors. So for example, Nishit is at local, right? Every company always does want interns. Everybody's looking for interns. So reach out to your seniors who've already cracked it, who've done it, and get a reference, or get access through them, right? Build relations with your seniors and get access to these internships through them.
I also want to add on to what Vatsal said. So there's one interesting thing about the CodeCell alumni that most of us are in off-campus company. So it opens up a good opportunity for juniors to ask for referrals or internship, because on campus so you'll be getting anyways, but these are the like another set of companies where you can apply. So yeah.
Okay. That's amazing. Seems like we have a question in chat. Some people are curious about what is open source. Nishit, you mentioned GSOC, right? So what exactly is GSOC? How do you go about cracking it? Because GSOC season is coming up. So
I think there are more qualified people than me sitting in this panel. Maybe
okay.
Jayesh, Karan can answer that.
Sure, Karan. Jayesh.
ये क्या खो खो मत खेल जयेश.
भाई करण सर को आंसर करने दो.
Jayesh, two times GSOC.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Also
sure,
GSOC
but
mentor. Yeah.
yeah, some people do not align with my open source ideals, but sure, open source for me was just contributing to projects I like, and then if I wanted to change something in something I use daily, then well, I just fixed it, or I just added the thing I wanted, used the fork of it. Um, so open source technically for you is a project which is already on there, and you use it or you want to help them, and then you can contribute to their project, and then everyone else who uses it can use the project. Apart from that, then there are also competitions. Well, they're not competitions but programs which such as GSOC, and I'm not sure about MLH. Maybe MLH does that and LFX does that, but they these programs encourage you to take part in open source contributions, and then they sometimes also give you monetary benefits. But the main part of this is that um, you get a direct connection with a mentor who works at that who has worked before with that project, and then he can mentor you and guide you how to help you in the open source part of that project.
Okay, that seems interesting. And what would be some tips if like many people here would be looking forward to crack GSOC, right? So Karan, maybe what
So
tips would you give?
let's just say, let's stop saying crack GSEC,
Yeah,
crack
I was also
GSOC,
going
or
to point
crack
that.
MLH. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just stop with that trend firstly, because I think that trend, of course, started in India and is a big thing now. We have this flashy YouTube video saying how to get into GSOC, how to crack GSOC, how to crack
Mhm.
MLH or LXC or whatever organization is there, right? So firstly, it's not about cracking, it's about learning. And open source is about the community, not about a single project, not about a single code base, not about even like making something, right? It's about the community first. So you need to understand that we have open source licenses in place. Just I think a week or two back, there was a big uproar in the community that Next.js, the company that owns Next.js, is going ahead and changing its licenses from an open license to a BSL license, that is a business first license, which will still make all their code open and all, but now they are trying to make money off of it, money off of the work that people have done for them, not their employees, not anyone that they had paid, but normal people like you and me, just wanting a feature in Next.js, going there, going on the repository, understanding their code and putting in there. So that is what open source is about. It's about, as Jay said, you want something in a project, you go to that project. If it doesn't exist, you reach out to the community there. It might not even be a community, it might be just one single person. You first try and reach out to them saying that, are you fine with me adding this feature, or do you already have it on your roadmap? If they say yes, they are going to add it, awesome, you wait for it. Or if you need it urgently, you just add it for yourself and use it yourself. If they say, okay, we are open for contributions, you go ahead, add that in their repository, and they will accept your pull request after a bit of code review and that whole cycle, right? If not, if they don't respond, because most of the times these are like some college student might have done an open source project, and now he is in a company, that company doesn't allow him to do open source anymore, so he will not respond to you sometimes. At that point, you can fork the repository, that is, create your own copy of that repository on GitHub, and then start your own community around it, start your own project around it, and continue that legacy, right? So that is what open source is about. Yeah, as Nishit said in the chat, open source is about competition. It's not about competition, it's about collaboration. That's a 100% true thing, and that is the spirit of it. If you go with the spirit of it, then yes, you will succeed in open source. Don't try to compete with people, don't try to make competing products even, because it just doesn't make sense to put in the same effort twice. In in corporate world, yeah, it does to them because they have infinite money and they want to protect their IP, but in the open world it doesn't. So let's not try and recreate the same things that people have done 100 times, right? Nishit, if you would like to add anything to that.
Yeah, there are few things, especially with the Indian students. They are like, we will crack, मैं फोड़ दूंगा, GSOC crack करना है. There are lots of YouTube videos also how to crack GSOC in 2 months, X months. Most of these people have not done GSOC, so they don't know about it. They're just doing clickbait things. So I would recommend kids. it's about collaboration. So I've also seen many of the peoples like in open source, whenever there are issues, one of the like person who is interested to like give up like open a pull request for that issue, he'll ask the mentor to assign the issue. Then also some other people like start working on the same issue which has already been assigned to some other people, like, but they just open a patch very quickly and they ask a mentor to merge it. But usually this doesn't work. So if you and some issue is already assigned to some other people, you should avoid working on that. So there also many people try to compete. Ki, I'll open it first. I'll create a patch first and all that. So avoid
Oh, that
doing that.
happens a lot in
Yeah,
Hacktoberfest. Like people try to
yeah,
steal issues. Like I don't understand what it is about. Like there are thousands of issues out there that you can work on. There is
yes.
कमी नहीं है वो चीजों की. Like just don't compete.
Hmm.
But yeah,
So
Hacktoberfest is also a good way to get into open source. Don't do it for the t-shirt. I think they removed the t-shirt this year, so that is a very good thing. Finally, people won't do it just for the t-shirt. So yeah, do Hacktoberfest.
uh, talking about open source, we have another senior who's joined in. There's a Malik Shah in the group. So he was from the 15-16 code cell batch, the very first one, or was it 14-15? 14-15. So he's one of the founding members of code cell as it happens. And he worked in Red Hat on open source technologies. Malik, any insights you can give on open source dev or
So I was saying, right, open source is all about collaborating, and the biggest thing you'd learn that is how to align a community to your thoughts and just have saying open source has not a single product manager or entity owning the thing. It's just engineers talking to engineers, right? And when engineers talk to each other, it's very different than when it comes from a top-down leadership point of view. Nothing. So at Red Hat, it was in our contract that anything we should do should be good for the community, even if it's bad for Red Hat. That's fine. They can't like blame you for it. And so it's a very different experience. Things do tend to move slightly slowly in like very large projects. For example, Kubernetes, where you might want some feature which would be on the roadmap for like maybe 3 years from now. So what do you do then? Then what you learn there is one, how do you align a community to like, hey, why this feature is important right now? And things would pivot quickly as well in open source. So it's a very different way of doing things as than what you learn in enterprises. And it comes with its own challenges, the biggest being communication, which is like the key piece there. Because you can only write so much code as a single engineer, right? And getting like so look at Kubernetes as a project. It's maybe I think 13,000 people who have contributed to it. So just sheer like understanding on where do you even start to contribute is difficult. And what you do there is like what I personally did was just look at an open issue and try and just reproduce that error on my machine. And then like over time you start reading like the relevant code pieces and things like that, and that's how you learn how things work. Like you would never know everything about the project, and that's perfectly okay. Just focus on what you care about and take it from there. So
It's amazing to see all these generations of CodeCell coming together. Like it's been around 8 to 9 years of CodeCell now, and we are having people from every generation, right? So speaking, we have spoken about open source, right? One thing that CodeCell used to do a lot was competitive programming or data structures. So what drove you guys to do it? What was that thing that made you do competitive programming in your college years? Would you suggest it to people right now?
so personally for me, I mean, me, Raj, and all, we just like were very curious, and I've been programming for a while at that point, so I enjoyed it, right? And data structure algorithm is just one class you learn in your second year. and no one really focuses on that. But when I transition to like looking at placements and stuff, you realize like it is the most important subject, because even right now on my day-to-day basis, like I still struggle with like, do I use bet for search, depth for search? So I would say like competitive programming in itself is a very important skill, because it's the way you think and not like can you solve the most difficult problem in the world.
That's amazing.
Also
What
to
about
yeah.
yeah?
Also to add on that, so generally what generally happens is in 11th, 12th, most of us try to do JEE, and we kind of get started with the math part and physics part. So in JEE, like at least for me, and I think for most of us here, the math part is fun. We try to understand all the math part and we get used to it and solving it. And when we come to like the first year of computer science, let's say, or engineering, and we want to start programming, building websites directly is a weird jump in that way, because you won't actually learn how to program. You'll actually learn just building the website, not actually programming. It's just like adding a few APIs, adding a few divs and then stuff like that. You don't actually learn how to program in that scenario. So if you actually want to learn programming, I think getting started with the math, implementing like basic factorials, all this stuff. After that, like basically moving on with data structures, algorithm. I think it gives like a good boost to get started with programming in general, as compared to just start building like apps or websites and stuff. So yeah, that's my take on it at least.
And honestly, DSA is the only thing that is a base for everything that you do. Even during your interviews, even for anything else, the only way they are judging candidates right now on a same platform is your data structures. There is no other way currently in the industry that the interviewers are looking for. Like if you're doing a full stack, if you're applying for full stack, if you're applying for front end or back end, you will at least have one DSA interview, or your phone interview, your screening interview will have data structures. So no matter if you're amazing at ML algorithms, but if your phone interview is data structures and algorithms, you won't even reach the other interviews where you'll be able to give those skills. And because the thing is, these are the small basic things which you first think that, oh, I'll never use it, but trust me, somewhere or the other they do come and you do use it. It's not it's not bullshit. It's something that builds over time, and it is something that you'll have to practice regularly. If you were 3 years ago, if you were five, if you're doing really good and if you're 5 star on CodeChef or something, don't expect those skills to remain throughout. If you don't continue practicing, it vanishes away like this. It's as simple as learning a language. Suppose if you've learned like French or something for 2 months in your school, you can't speak right now because you're not practicing it or talking to someone continuously in that language. Data structures is literally that. You have to continuously be on it. So don't leave it. And during your undergrad, you have so much time. You won't have this time to devote to something so integral for software engineering in general. Like give at least 2 hours a week for this, because it is really important. And trust me when I say really important, all my interviews till date have majorly, like, out of, if I've given 100 interviews, which is not true, like supposing I've given out of 100%, like 80% of all my interviews have been data structures centric. And all they, even till date, they ask your time complexity, and you have to give the analysis, everything is there. So don't think that, oh, if it's going away, if it's vanishing away from your college syllabus, it's not going away from the real industry. It's still very, very prominent.
And
Just
so
to mark, sorry, Malik, just a
yeah.
second. Just to mark the importance, Hetal is currently in Google, so she knows the importance of data structures. So I just wanted to mark the importance of what she said. Go on, Malik.
even beyond interviews, right? Like interviews is just one and done, but even in your day to day, that's this is the kind of thing, like these constant optimizations that you think about are the ones which make you stand out and actually make you a better engineer. It's like there are 10 different ways to do things, and like each millisecond scales up, right now we have like what, five, some 50 billion transactions a day or something. Like imagine, even if it's slow by like 1 millisecond, how much time is wasted each day. And so just, it's a way of thinking, and not just like, hey, you want to like crack Google, for example, and you are one and done. Like keep practicing, because it's very very easy to forget on a day to day, like how could you do this better, kind of thing.
And it is used during your jobs as well, like for every single thing. When anyone asks you, give us three possible ways to solve this problem, you will need your basic data structures to know, oh, there are three possible algorithms that are there that you could have used for it. So it is used every single day.
I think there's one more benefit of uh, doing competitive programming, which I find more relevant is, yes, interviews do help, but that comes in at a later point in time. And yes, you may or may not require it to use it at a place where you want to scale it. But for me personally, it ended up being a good entry point into programming in general, right? I came into my engineering college as someone who didn't have any prior experience in programming, right? This was the first course that we had in our college, FCP or something that we call it, I think, was the first time that I learned C++ for that matter. And uh, the thing about programming is, I think the biggest misconception is, if in the initial days that people have is, if you know the syntax, you can code, which is not the reality, right? When you actually go out and start solving problems, you understand knowing the syntax is like the necessary mandate that you have. The real problem starts after you know the syntax, right? It's assumed that you know the syntax. Even if you don't know it, you can just Google it up. That will solve it for you. But the problem won't be solved by just knowing the syntaxes. And the and at one point in time, if you directly, let's say, approaching, let's say, a backend, or let's say start approaching HTML for that matter, it becomes overwhelming because there are no constraints, there are nothing there in place. You are just left with a empty playground to play with, which is not necessarily a good thing, right? Whereas when you start competitive programming, you have a constrained environment. This is the problem that you're going to be solving. This is the, what do you say? These are the input. These are the constraints for which the input will be there. This is the output, right? You don't have to deal with things like unknowns and all those things, which is something that you get when you start working on real life projects. So uh, DSA or competitive programming basically helps you build the aptitude to write code, debug, spend time on your code, try to find out what is going wrong, how to find the edge cases, so that eventually when you face a huge programming problem in front of you, building a real life problem where there's no constraint involved, you all actually know ki, if given a constraint, I'm able to definitely do this. Then I can face the second part of the problem where there are unknowns coming to the picture. You will expect the user to give you a string input, and there will be some guy who will do who will do SQL injection, who will do something else, whatnot, right? So those are the kind of problems that you solve in real life problems in production. But this ends up being a good intro where you can get into coding and building your aptitude for reading code step by step, one step at a time, from a very easy problem like the first problem which we have on CodeChef, I think, life, universe, and everything, to a difficult problem where you go into deep data structures and whatnot. I think people go till fast Fourier transforms and all those kind of things. Right? So it's a good guided path so that you become familiar with it and get a taste of it.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting audience question that I want to take, and that will be a good segue. Anushrut asked, can you give a timeline for learning languages? Because I was in the middle of Python, but then seniors told me finish C++, it's more important. So what do I do and when do I do that? So Anushrut, I'll give you my example. When I was in the first year, as all of us who joined KJ, we all failed JEE, and so I had a chip on my back. So I said, God damn it, I'm going to learn all the languages. So by the time I joined college, I had learned Java, Python, C++, and C, four languages. And I thought I was the shit, right? Because I knew four languages to code in and all. And then that's when I met Darshan, who was part of CodeCell at that time with Maulik. And Darshan says, "Oh, you're so smart, you know four languages. There's this competition we have. Why don't you try participating and solving?" And I couldn't solve even one problem. And then after that, he said, CodeChef, just try the test problem. You know the test problem on CodeChef, which is just take an input and print it out. And I took 42 attempts to just solve the test problem on CodeChef. And that's when I realized that it doesn't matter how many languages you know, it's the basics. Anushrut, as long as, for example, you know object oriented principles, object oriented design, and methodologies from one language, they're all transferable to any other object oriented programming language. Let's say you've learned it in Java, that's transferable largely to Python, to Scala, to Kotlin, to whatever other, right? If you learned Haskell with functional, that is transferable to other functional languages, whatever, right? So once you've learned the basics and the base is clear, you will be able to flip between languages like this. It doesn't take more than half a day to learn a new language after a certain point because they're all so similar. But I'll let the rest add if they want to add anything on this question.
Oh, definitely. Like, don't worry about any language. Just pick an easy one for interviews on your day-to-day basis. I constantly have to shift between like Python, Java, and Go currently, and even Ruby, for example, for that matter. And sure, the syntax is all muddled in my brain, but you have literally IDs which do most of the things for you. What you need to focus on, like what you're trying to achieve, and what's the best possible way to do that. And please focus on oops and like writing clean, easy to understand code. Like if your teammate can't understand what you've written and you would have like the most optimized code, no one is gonna care, because when you come back look at it a year later, it's not gonna make sense, and you will come back at it at some point.
I think that is something that people, even me in college, didn't realize, that it is not just about getting things done, it is just about getting things done the right way so that people understand. Because once you start working in a place where you're building on top of things that actually exist, 70% of your time is just reading code, and it's just 30% of your time where you actually implement code. You will go through a file which has thousands of lines and make one line of change which optimizes it, but then you have to do the pain point of reading through that many lines of code, and that is when you actually realize the value of writing clean code. But not sure if this is like the right audience who will realize it, but you will eventually realize it, that what Maulik is saying, and relate to it.
See, on your day-to-day, all you're gonna do is write for loops and if else statements and like log statements. Like there would be just 5 days a year when you would actually use a DS algorithm on like, oh, how do you optimize this? But rest of the day it's just a follow-up. So it's important that make sure like whoever comes next knows what you're doing.
Another interesting question from Heath Vichivora is, as Vatsal sir said that in his college days he used to participate in hackathons and stuff, but we don't belong to a good college and we don't have a quality peer group. What can we do? Probably all of the CodeCell members are obvious signs of what can be done, right? When Maulik and all started, they didn't have good seniors, they didn't have good peer groups. They made it themselves, right? You find one or two people who are interested, you just do cool shit together and you work to build that culture within your college, and hopefully within a few years that kind of rolls into something like CodeCell. It's got to start somewhere. Why don't you start it, Heath?
And actually, like, you don't actually also need a group. All you can do is, let's say, you find a hackathon or you find the event, just go. There would be people there. There would be people like looking for teammates. You can just join them and start working with them. So eventually, you'll get to know them. You'll get to learn a lot of things from them, and obviously, building and implementing things will get you started. And
But
will help you.
Roshang, don't you think that nowadays every college is having a hackathon, and then going to hackathons that are local doesn't really contribute to you, because like every college everywhere there is a hackathon going on a weekend, and you don't find that quality audience everywhere. Don't you think that?
That
Just to
might be, but I'm not sure
contrast to you.
because we haven't been
Yeah, yeah,
in our
exactly.
scenario. It doesn't.
I
So
think
anyone,
the problem is right now, even hackathon has gone from a point where it was about upskilling yourself and trying something out which you
yeah,
haven't ever tried out, to a place where people are going to win. So they'll have templates in place which they already have. They'll just make a small tweak to it, present it back to the judges, because the metric that they are optimizing for is winning and not skilling up or learning something new, which is a
yeah.
wrong perspective to go for with a hackathon, because there are other places where you can earn a lot of more money by
I
doing
think
it.
there was a hackathon that we all went to in IIT where some team presented the same damn project that they had presented in five other hackathons and actually won that hackathon as well. Don't do that. Don't present the same thing. Hackathon is about coming up with an idea, learning something new in 24 hours, and implementing that, and building your product. Hackathon is one of the places where you do not think about code quality. At least I did not, because if I think about code quality at that point, I will just do infra, and I will just do like linters and all of that, and not actually write the code. So that is the place you learn, and then after the hackathon you refine your code quality skills. Is at least that was my perspective.
Rather, one more thing that people can look towards hackathon for is, so for me personally, all the projects that are present in my resume are hackathon projects, right?
Yeah.
And I have so many more projects which are not there on the resume, but I build them on hackathons. So hackathons for me were opportunities where I could learn something new, build a small product out of it, at least the minimum viable product out of it, and that becomes a project. Now, usually people are finding around me, what project do I build, what do I do, when do I do it, so on and so forth. Just go to a random hackathon, sit with your team and try to ideate what you can build. And these projects definitely can be added to your resume at later point in time and showcase as a part of your portfolio. And that's why when you start looking towards that as your goal, you'll automatically start toward learning more things. So there was a time where Web3 was the trend at that point of time. So we tried our hands at Web3. We built a couple of decentralized apps as they are called. So we did that. We had a few ML based projects. We used APIs like Dialogflow and whatnot, and so on and so forth. Right. So just go with an open mind, and the incentive should not be what theme that they are suggesting. No, it should be what you want to learn over this weekend. Something cool has come up, and in this age, I think every weekend or so we see something new coming up, right? We have whatnot coming up every week, right? And so the number of opportunities that you have to sit together and build something is less, but the number of technologies you have is more at this point of time. So pick anything that you feel is cool enough for you, pick it up and start building around it. And that is what your aim at hackathon should be.
So one thing, if
Another,
you don't have
yeah.
ideas for hackathon, just go to another hackathon. There will be 100 ideas. Pick one which you feel is cool and at least try to create that. And once you're working on it, you'll think of some new ideas along the way. On now you have this idea, how do you make it better, or something like that, and you would come up with your own way of implementing things, which is still a great learning experience.
Just to add to what Chirag said, I think I learned a big thing from Chirag by going to hackathons with him. What he used to do is, no, he did not just used to like make his projects, but at certain point, like in 12, 15 hours into the hackathon, he used to go on a round. Okay, like he used to pretend that he's a judge and go and ask everyone that what are they working on. And that's an amazing thing to do. Like you get to learn so much, like how people are thinking. In some hackathons you don't have an open topic, you have a topic, you have a question that you need to solve, right? And to know how other people are thinking, the way out, the different ways of thinking outside the box is amazing. So pretend to be a judge, go around, learn from other people, And this was a thing that we had to do in Hack Junction in Finland. We actually had to go around, ask people, and give our rating to them, because they had a totally different way to rate projects than what we do here in India. Like, there are judges, and that is something I learned from Chirag, as well as by going to Hack Junction. So do that. Even if you don't want to go and build project, just volunteer at the hackathon. MLH has a lot of opportunities wherein, like, you can be a volunteer at the hackathon, and that way also you can learn a lot if you are not actually participating in the hackathon.
Arnav asks a very interesting question, and I'll open it to those who've done MS because I am useless in this. Hey guys, did you all do some research project, publish some research papers? If yes, how do you guys do research and what topic? Maybe MS guys can talk about it because my research project in college was shit.
Yep. So my research projects, I remember that.
I what was it? IEEE के वो इवेंट में प्रकल्प में पब्लिश कर दो पेपर.
प्रकल्प में, yep.
Anybody who's done an MS with thesis here? Anybody in the room? Rushang, Hetal, Karan? No? Jayesh?
No.
ना भाई मैंने नहीं किया. I'll do a normal masters this year maybe.
Okay. Well, I'll just add a little bit there then. Your college papers, your college professors के साथ जो research करोगे वो generally उतना valuable नहीं रहेगा. One thing is, if you are trying to get a paper published, at least do it under a PhD professor who's a PhD. Otherwise, it's generally not counted for much. And start cold mailing professors in top universities in India or abroad and asking them kind of if they're looking for any help that you can do remotely, and then ideally try to convert that into an internship over the summer. It's going to be tough to find your own topics to do perform research on initially, but once you get more exposed to it and work with a few professors, that engine of ideas will start churning for you.
Building on that thought, so a few of my colleagues in my grad school, they had done this. So if you are really interested in certain topics or certain fields, you can look at the universities that primarily are focused on those. Like, for some universities have a huge like have a huge knowledge base for systems engineering or for natural NLP and stuff like that. So depending on which field you want to actually do the research project in, you can see those universities that have a great program for it and reach out to the professors there. They will definitely have a lot of because in summer, most of their, for at least for summer period, most of their PhD candidates or anyone, they all also go for their summer internships. So during fall and spring, they might not have that many open positions or open projects for you to work on. But for summer, a lot of the professors have a lot of open spaces because their own students are doing something else. So then if you start cold emailing like right now or for December, because even December, a lot of people take vacations. So for December or for summer, that you will definitely have some of the other professor having some small task for you to finish. A lot of the people who are doing currently PhD in systems at my grad school, they started working with that professor in their undergrad itself from India. Like, they used to cold email them related to the projects that they were doing. And during summer, the PhD candidates used to go for their internships, and they used to pick up their projects and do the small tasks that they could do during their during the summer holidays. So you all can actually do that.
Rishang, you had to say something.
I was actually saying the exact same thing because right now I'm working in a research lab. So there were a few undergrad students from Europe and I think 4 people from India right now. So since it's an open source project as well, so they were contributing to the project. And in the end, it was very weird, but right now these guys are in their second year. The professor was so much impressed with your work that he offered that, do you want to move to NYU right now and convert your degree to undergrad plus PhD thing, which is quite surprising. But some professors have that power to give you like offers such like this. And except for that, there are a few people who like in their last year of undergrad or third year started contributing to this lab, and they were offered like recommendation to the PhD programs. So that actually helps you. And even most of the research work is quality work. I would say sometimes if you're actually interested in the research work, it's better than the internship process that you get during your summer. It might not pay you because generally the US universities, at least they won't pay you while you're in India. But at least like in the first, second year if you're working, it will be a very good experience for you.
So I have two very interesting questions in the chat space. I want to check Karan, are you still around? Karan Agarwal.
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
I finally have a good question for you. So Anonymous is asking, is being from CS background important for or me being from a different branch would be a concern at some point in time? And I think Jayesh can also speak on this, but Karan, maybe you can guide these people on what your journey has been over the first 4 years of your college life.
Yeah, I mean, not just branch. Being from a non-technical background also doesn't matter if you want to get into coding. If you're passionate enough and if you keep at it, then there's always a job for you. Just I mean, I hired a lot of front end people on my team, and a couple of weeks ago I hired a person who was a chef in Toronto just a month ago. He was learning coding on the side at a coding boot camp, and now he's working as a full stack developer. And my journey was at least in engineering, so I had that thing going in my favor. Um, but I was in electronics, so what I did was I did side projects I did some side projects. I went to hackathons. I did a lot of freelancing. I did a couple of internships, and a lot of luck going my way. So yeah, not being in CS doesn't really matter.
Hey, Karan, yeah, we want to hear the other part of your story as well. Come on.
I don't think it's a very good platform to talk about that. Here we are here to inspire students, not for them to put their academics on the side.
Fine, so I'll give this. So, Karan has a very very good job right now in tech, and in fact, he's had a job from his third year. He's basically been working full time in tech since his third year as a developer. Over his 4 years, I think he's had. Can anybody guess how many KTs Karan had? If anybody wants to put a guess in the chat.
It's more than most of your
Deva says
ages.
8.
Generally, more than most of your ages.
Golden the 3. Tanvi says 12. Rushan says 18. Yeah, I think it was 17 if I remember correct.
No, 21.
21. 21 KTs and this guy is working like so. If you guys are thinking with these many KTs, will I ever get a job? Will I get MS? Everything happens if you put in the work. So Karan's a real inspiration for that. Anyway, we'll go into any further questions that are there. Rahul is asking. Oh, Rahul is asking. I was working for a VC funded startup in Gen AI space for the last 6 months. Should I go back working for them or prep for MS as there aren't many openings for undergrads in ML AI? Anybody has any thoughts? MS or job if you want to do ML AI? Should you work in India or should you go for your master's in the US?
I usually say people do the math. Just first run the numbers, like how much are you earning in undergrad, how much are you spending for masters, because people come to masters without actually thinking how much big of a commitment it is. Like any normal college that you go to, if it's not a state college, you would be spending upwards of 40 to $50,000. How much time will it take you to pay that back? Because not everyone earns 150K 200K starting salary, right? The average median salary, not the average, sorry, the median salary in US right now for a computer science person is $75,000, not $150,000. So do your math, run the numbers, and do whatever makes sense to you. If you have confidence in yourself that, yeah, I will crack or I will get $150,000 job, then yeah, sure, maybe it makes sense to you. Also, what are your life goals? Do you want to finally settle in US? Do you want to settle in India? Do you want to live with your parents? Where do you want your house to be? There are a lot of questions that you need to answer and do the numbers, do the math, and only then you can decide what to do. Don't go with the trend of coming to US, because I have seen a lot of friends, especially in the last 2 years, who came here, did not get a job because of the recession, now have a $40,000 $50,000 loan to pay off at a 12 to 13% interest rate, because they took that loan from an Indian company, in Indian bank, or some UK bank. And it's really hard to live under that mental pressure, right? It's easy to live without a debt, but it's really, really hard to live under that mental pressure of paying off $50,000 at a 13% interest rate, and that interest rate has already been accumulated for 2 years, when you were doing your masters. So think about that, run the numbers, is all I will say.
I think one more thing interesting about the question is asking is he has already been in Gen AI for the last 6 months. So he's like the baseline for Gen AI experience, right? So if he remains in the company for the next 2 years, for which he'll go for masters, he'll have 2 years and 6 months of Gen AI experience, which no one else might have in the industry, which positions him in a very unique place. And maybe you end up getting better opportunities by the time you graduate. The amount of industry experience you have for being part of a project, in case if you are optimistic that it's a very good project and will make it out, you'll have a unique skill set with you which you can leverage, perhaps better than what your course will teach you. Because I don't think whatever course you go for, if you are so much into ML and AI, they'll teach you ML and AI at a general level and not Gen AI in specifics, right? So might end up adding you better value if you stay there. But it's a analysis that you have to do depending on, is the work that you are doing, is it interesting enough for you, and is it adding any value to you?
Okay, let's take up another question. A person asks that he doesn't have much of coding experience. He's in his first year. Should he focus on going to hackathons, or should he build up his skill? If he's building up his skill, what would be the right time to go to hackathons, or is there a right time to go to hackathons?
You can go to hackathon and build your skills there itself.
Yes.
That is the biggest misconception that people have, that if you go to hackathons, you need to have some skill set. As I said in the first part itself, go to hackathon with an intention to learn something new. Pick couple of friends of yours who also have this. You don't need the skill, rather you just need the intent. They have the intent that they'll spend one night with you, not sleeping, learn something new. Be it as basic as not knowing how to write HTML and CSS, just go there and then start with a basic design that this is what you want to build, and then just back propagate from there, that how do you achieve this, right? It can be building a basic HTML CSS website in the first hackathon that you go, but then you have upskilled yourself that you know how to do a basic website templating. The next one you can add a backend to it, and so on. So that is one of the biggest misconception. It is just that you have to be shameless and go to hackathon. That's it. There's no
Yeah.
right time to go to hackathon.
I would like to add on to this. So I'll tell you my experience. So during my first year, I joined like college began in August something, and there was an hackathon organized by CodeCell itself in our college, which was in October, I guess. So we joined that hackathon. We didn't know anything. Like we learned Django a week before that. We were the only first year team, and our product was also shit. Like it was not even like good enough to demo it. Then to what we learned at that point was, the most important thing was we learned the entire Django within a week, all of us. Then we made very good friends. I got to know about lots of other tech stacks which people usually use during hackathon. So one interesting thing I found out was people generally prefer Flask during hackathon because it's very easy to build a project in Flask. So this is something new I learned in that hackathon. I networked with a lot of people. So this is something which you can do. Like it's not important. It's not if you are skillful and if you already know how to build something, then only you should attend hackathon. You can just go there, interact with new people, learn something new. Yeah.
Okay.
Is Jay here, by the way? Jay Margaret? Is he in the meet?
I don't think so.
Okay, because
Yes,
his
yes,
experience,
yes, he's here.
he's here.
Yeah. I have added him as a co-host. I think Sajay, you can speak.
Jay, please share about your experience from the hackathon, which has landed you a job in a startup at Dubai.
I guess Jay has some issues with his mic.
Okay, I think he doesn't have access to speak.
I think we can come back to him, no? We can go to the next question.
Definitely. One more question asks that he's finding it very hard to manage time. How do you manage your academics as well as you do coding side by side? Because there's always some IC, always some NSEM coming up. How do you make time for coding as well?
Don't attend college.
I don't think that's the right solution.
I kind of think that's the simplest solution because, at least for my experience, I can share that whenever I have IACs or all these examinations, that is the only time, or the week before is the only time we have really studied for IAC or ESC. And I think most of us would agree, no one has legit studied every single day of college. So you can utilize that time, to learn something new, try something new, and that will make time for the things that you really want to learn. And please don't wait for college to teach you. Okay, this is the thing I've seen. Like, people are like, in the second year, okay, they will be teaching us Python, so I'll wait for the second year to come, and then I will learn Python. Just take up any course, take up any resource that you find, and just start learning. You can ask your seniors, you can ask the people who know to solve your doubts, and they will help you out. So that is one way to manage time, though I don't think it's ethically right, but it will help.
So what time management, just learn to prioritize like what's the 2, 3 most important things on your plate right now and focus on that, get them out of the way, move on to the next one. That would just make things simpler in terms of time management and like get away with the bare minimum attendance you can.
Does that include all the proxies?
Yeah, proxy counts.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what things
agree.
are right now, but one semester my attendance was 6%, and I'm doing fine. So
For me, 2 years was online, and I did not attend a single lecture for 2 years. So I am not the person to say to attend lectures, but I think it helps sometimes, especially I some people find lectures not as useful. I always found them good enough because that theoretical knowledge is important. People did not used to like see in like computer networks or mobile networks subjects like that, but I always loved them, like knowing about those unique ways that things have developed in the past, knowing the historical background, how we come to today's 5G was important in programming as well, is what I felt. And those are the things that you will learn when doing, after coming to the industry. And it's better to just learn that in college. So don't just focus on projects, is my opinion. Also focus a bit on academics. You should at least know what's going on. After coming to masters, you will be like, oh damn, I think I had this subject in bachelor's, but I have no idea what I did then. But now, since I'm paying so much in masters, and now since your attendance is kind of important because they can ask random quizzes, I will learn it now. Don't spend money again to learn the same damn thing. Just learn it on the first go.
yeah, you should absolutely know what's going on with the subject even if you're not attending classes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
That's
definitely,
true.
and you would not realize how important subjects like computer networks are, or even like applied mathematics, just because I mean the world is internet at this point, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of is going on. Like I deal with the MSI model on a day-to-day basis right now.
So one specific question to Rushang. A person asks, how did you transition from Somaya to NYU? Could you provide your insights on this and what specific things did you focus on?
I didn't think the transition, for me, it wasn't a transition from Soma to NYU. For me, it was a transition from corporate life to NYU. So I'm not sure if that question is valid enough for me. But the small things that changed was pretty much like Karan said. People during the masters tend to focus more on their studies, but I think it's not necessary as such. You can just repeat what you did in your bachelor's again in your masters. It's just that in your bachelor's, it's most of us don't try to do it. Most of us don't attend lectures. Most of us don't care about our academics. But I there's a small thing that I noticed, that even though we don't focus on academics, in the end we are getting marks in academics. So probably we did something right. We probably paid attention, or at least marked up something 1 week before the exam, so we know the concepts in the end. Similar thing happens in the masters as well. People generally don't study the entire, let's say, 4 months. It's the study period is basically working on your projects or working on the assignments that are given to you, which does not happen in, let's say, college like Somaya, but it happens during your master phase. So it's just like a integrative, continuative development phase that happens during your entire master phase. So it's not really the transition that you do, it's a forceful transition. The course is designed in such a way that you're forced to be transitioned to it.
Oh,
I think we
another
can take
question.
this.
Yeah.
One interesting question I see over here is from Pratham is how to actually connect to right people in college life and continue working with them. I tried getting into councils, but actually messed up the interview because of anxiety. I didn't find many people actually coding and interesting and collaborating in my batch. One so CodeCell as a council, there's a limitation that we can only have so many people. Initially, we used to have even less people. Now we've outgrown it. I think almost we're twice the size that we used to be. But then the biggest misconception is you'll only get the knowledge of us if you are a part of council. At any point in time, our aim always is to get as much as we can and give it out back to everyone who's coming in. Right? That's what our aim is. So you need not be a part of CodeCell if you want to get the knowledge that we have. Rather, you just come to the workshops that we have. Right? Most of the workshops that we create, we have much more ideas and much more things to do. Rather, we limit ourselves to few because we may not see more people participating. It's never the way that we don't want more people to come in, right? So at any point in time, you can just come to us. Uh, Earlier, we used to have a room B111 where you'll at any point in time find at least one code cell member here reserved. I am not really sure if that is the case right now. Okay, whichever room, I think you guys can reach out to Arya, Pargat, Aurish, and all the other current Harshal and all the other folks that we have in the current council, and we are more than happy to help you out. And the fact that you don't find many people actually coding or interesting in your batch, that's like the wrong thing. You might not have just discovered them, and eventually you'll find folks who are like-minded like you, because not everyone comes to college with a certain intention, right? They want to do something. So you'll find more people on the lines, but till the time you can just reach out to folks in the current council and they'll be happy to help you out. And if they don't, feel free to reach out to any one of us that you find over here in the panel over LinkedIn or something, and we'll answer. And we'll also make sure why the current people in the council are not responding to you guys.
Definitely, guys, feel free to reach out to you. We'll be glad to help you. Apart from that, one small thing that had happened was one SY or something in college said that attending lectures is not compulsory. So that FY went and told the dean that attending lectures is not compulsory. So I think now we have a 50% or 75% attendance rule. So question around that we have a 75% attendance criteria. How do we, like you guys said that attending lectures is not mandatory, how do we go around that?
Firstly, don't be a snitch. Don't go and tell people that you need such a rule. Okay. And way around that, yeah, I think Hardik said it the best in chat. Not even gonna repeat it.
But yeah, I have seen that some professors are very strict. They take the attendance themselves, so they call out the name of everybody. So how do we deal with that now?
I mean, we are from a different time. Like things have changed. And
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say is don't get into unnecessary trouble. If some professor is really a stickler for it, then attend and just be done with it. Some are more chill than others, where you can get away with a lot more. So just use your best judgment there. And there's always medical certificates.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
So
Yeah,
from hackathons and competitive programming, you guys eventually found out a field that really interests you and you guys are working there right now. So a question asks, how should one explore and find that area of interest to specialize in? Or
That find like a shot, yeah, to many of us. We have not found the thing. I I know a couple of people here that have not found it at least.
no.
But I think the intent of the question is how do you discover? Which is I think you are on the right track. The very fact that you are open to discovering is the first fact, because what usually happens is, at least in my time, the buzzword was AI/ML back then in 2020 when I had joined, and then anyone who would come to college was like, I want to do AI/ML. I want to do AI/ML. I'll do this. And they'll do one Andrew Ng Stanford wala course.
everyone has done that here.
Yeah, everyone will do that. And then, yeah, so your intent is right, that I think that's the right way to approach it, that experience every field as much as you can, and then come to a conclusion that, okay, this is my calling, which eventually you will find. There's no guarantee you will find it in the first year, you will find it in the second year. You will maybe perhaps work for a few years and then realize this is my calling, but then you have to stay open for all. Now, coming to the question about how do you explore, I think when it comes to things like it depends on field to field. For example, if you want to explore things like cyber security, I think you can go to things like CTF and all those things, which helps you get a trailer into how hackathons, how cyber security and things around it work. If you want to go towards dev, go to hackathons. What else? What in hackathons you can end up doing anything that you want in any field that you want. So eventually everything is open to you. Yeah.
If you want to get into product management or like DevRel jobs, go to conferences, meet people.
Is there anybody from consultancy side?
Yeah,
So
we do tech consulting,
uh,
if that's what you meant.
Yeah, so how does that work out? Like, what is the journey for that?
As in to get into consulting?
Yeah.
No, I my aim wasn't to get into consulting. I just happened to be at a company who does engineering consulting. So I don't think I'm equipped to answer that.
But I think, Karan, it would be nice to explain like what are consultants and what do consultancies do, because people don't really have the idea that what are consultants.
Yeah, so consulting is basically people who do, like, companies who do everything but tech. They want to focus on their product, or they want to focus on their business, and they want to outsource their engineering to someone else because they don't have the right people or they don't have the resources to get the right people. So we take care of those things for them.
So I think Jay is here and Devansh was mentioning about his journey. So Jay, it would be great if you could share how you managed to get that intern from the hackathon.
I guess. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like one thing that I always do when I go for hackathons is just network. I mean, go around, talk to people, talk what project they're building. So similar thing happened with me. The guy across our table was hacking on something, and he just came across and asked like, "What stack do you code in?" and all that. So that's what initially laid me a way for him to get in touch with me, check my skills, and then hire me for this company, which is now I've got a PPO from them as well. So just going to hackathon and sitting there for 24 hours is not that important according to me. Just move around, talk to people, get to know the judges, get to know the mentors, see what they are up to, and build contacts. Just going there and just winning a prize might not be most important. So I think that's the one thing that I would tell you about the hackathon stuff. And yeah, just keep on exploring and just be open to all the fields. It's not like if you know React Native, you won't code Flutter, or if you know React, then you won't code Node.js. Kind of. Just be open. It's like take the challenge and learn through the way. So these are plus two things that you would learn in a hackathon, and not just going and building the product. Obviously, that is important, but also focus on these two things. That will take you even more 2 steps ahead. Is what I would recommend. Thank you.
Just to add to what Jai said, and also throw a question to everyone here, how many of you actually in your jobs focus on one thing? Like if you are, for example, a backend engineer, or if you are a backend engineer, you just do backend stuff and never look at front end. Because at least from me, whatever internships or job I have done, I was hired as something, and then I always end up working on backend, front end, infra, all of that. So what are your experiences in that?
I've been doing front end for most of my career, I guess. 5 years at the same company. I've been working at Spear for 5 years almost, and I've only been doing front end.
So for me, I am mostly been a backend person my whole life. Like I can't do front end to save my life. Like CSS just baffles me. What's important to know is like how a front end is gonna call your backend, and that I feel is much more important than actually knowing how front end works. Like you should be aware of like your whole stack and how things fall in place. And even if you're just focusing on one part, like you can't just be ignorant to how your front end is gonna look like or it's gonna work.
A
So
baseline knowledge of the stack is important, basically, what your company is up to. So at my company, I started out as a Flutter developer because I was hired as a Flutter developer. But today, I write blockchain code, I write React, I write Next.js, MongoDB, Express, and whatnot. So like, just be ready to adapt and just don't stick to one particular thing. Like, look at programming as a concept and not as a particular language, and you will be through.
Right. Speaking of that, there was a question that how do you find people or how do you connect with the right people, right? So we have something for them. Pargat, I think.
Yeah, I think so. We should show them, right?
Yeah.
So, guys, for you guys, we are conducting a offline meetup. That is Coffee with CodeCell. That would be a physical meetup in KJSCE College of Engineering. We are keeping this meetup on 6th of September. That is Wednesday, and the timing would be 4 o'clock and onwards. The event would be conducted in seminar hall in the B building at 113. So you can right now register for the event itself. This is an exclusive segue to our event. Over here, we'll not only talk about some ambassador programs, but also a brief introduction about the various domains that are available. And you'll also get a chance to interact with the seniors and ask one-on-one doubt sessions with us. So I hope to see you all there. I'll give a minute for you all to scan in the QR code or तुम लोग register कर सकते हो. So yeah, this is one event that we have been working on behind the scenes. Okay, I guess Gorish, you can take over.
Yeah. So there are quite a few more questions. Let's look at some of them and then can. Okay. So speaking about CodeCell, right? What was it that drove you that I want to get into CodeCell? And after getting into CodeCell, how has your experience been like?
Okay, I think I can go for this. For me, being a part of CodeCell was just getting an opportunity to hang out with like-minded peers. That was my biggest intention. That so I joined CodeCell in my second year when I was a part of the junior council, and then I was there in my third year also, where I was part of the seniors in the council. What that helped me is just staying around people who do work in the domain that you want to do. You learn a lot via the process of osmosis, right? You just have to be curious, ask silly questions to them, and it turns out to be good. And I thought that for that you have to be in the council, and that was my intention. But that is a wrong expectation to have. Anyone, even outside the council, can do that. You just have to be there around. Over the past few years, I've seen people who are not a part of council still sticking around folks of CodeCell and seniors, asking questions and so on and so forth, and getting the knowledge that they needed out of it, getting the referrals out of it, and all those things that they aimed for. So now that is possible, but then at my time, that was my goal for joining CodeCell.
I would like to add to what Chirag said. So my experience in Coachella was something that I cherish a lot because I remember applying for the first time into Coachella and getting rejected, and I thinking that okay, this is like something I wouldn't make it inside. And the only reason I wanted to join Coachella is because I had a passion for tech and I wanted to learn more. And these were the guys. These were the guys I was like, "Ki, yeah, these are the people I want to be like because their vast knowledge, the way they used to take sessions, especially Rushang and everyone, they were a great inspiration for me, and that led me to apply to CodeCell. But yeah, even after getting rejected, that didn't stop me. And again, then I applied in the second year, and then I got in, and it was then the third year, and so on. But the entire experience of learning from all my colleagues in the shit and all entire match and even my juniors has made me who I am today because their own journeys in their own fields, the things that they love and they have explored, gave me much more sense of what one could do in their fields. And just by knowing more about their fields, I got to learn a lot, and that is how it expanded my boundaries. And yeah, that is how I think it's common for all of us here that just being beside with beside each other, like us coach cell members being around people and people coming to us and we helping them out was the best experience that we all had and will cherish forever. So yeah.
I don't know if you remember your interview, Devansh, but I think in the end, we were confused between taking Devansh and Jayesh in the first year because that was the first time we were ever like doing a first year representative, and I think your interview even then was one of the best. It was just sad that we only could hire like we only could take in like one person in the council at that time as a first year rep.
Feels good to hear. Thank you.
add, Adding to what Devan said, uh, most underrated kind of resource that you have or access that you have is your seniors. So, like, whatever you learn or whatever you're trying to like go ahead in your career, like just keep good connects with your senior and try to get all the good points from them. Because personally, in my journey, I feel seniors have had the biggest contribution. Like the likes of Nishid, Devansh. I think Nilansh is not here, but Nilansh. These guys have helped me like terribly. I've texted them and got their help for like half an hour, 1 hour. They have been on call with me. So having like good senior connect is really underrated, but that's what will take you from 0 to 20 at least, and then from 20 to 100 is your job.
Yeah, actually, that is very true because even for me, I was I was one of those people who didn't even know the C of coding, and I joined CodeCell as a PR rep because I had zero technical skills to be in the tech team. So I joined as, and it does not matter which part of the team you are, just if no matter what you do, once you get into the team, just try to be a part of the team. Don't just do your, oh, if I'm a marketing person, I will just do marketing, that is my thing, and don't do that. Try to be a do marketing, obviously you have to do that, but try to be a part of everything. So that's how I started learning. My hackathon experiences also, honestly, ask Karan and Rashan. The first two hackathons, I've just gone with them, I've sat and I've just stared at them doing things. I've just learned by looking at what they do, because I had zero knowledge, so I could not even contribute that much. But
No, one sec. I think I will disagree with that. The contributions that different people bring to the team is different, and a PR person being on the team, a person who can talk as good as you can, was something that contributed to us doing good in those hackathons. Okay.
okay, in terms of I'm saying in terms of technical things, but like, yeah, so you obviously you have your own strengths and this, but then just like being a part of CodeCell is not, you get a lot of things out of it, because every personality that you meet is very different. Right now, even currently after 5 years as well, all of us are still friends. The peer group that you have, the connections that you make, uh, all the seniors have such different aspects and avenues that they want. Their life goals are different. So in that aspect also, you can make your personality from like 20% of all of them. Like I am currently a mixture of all of them, being Chirag, Neil, Shivam, all of them have contributed a lot. They used to push me and push all of us to doing, like being a part of every single workshop, like sitting together, making all the list of problems, just discussing it with each other. So it was like really good. Oh, I that is my life goal. I want to become a life coach.
And yeah, one thing to the tech people on the call, like try to include people who are not in tech but want to be, because for them it's hard to communicate with you. They feel intimidated asking you that can I be part of your team for hackathon or for this project or whatever. Believe me, they will play a huge role in your hackathon projects or your normal projects, because you need someone who can design stuff for you. You need someone who can communicate stuff for you. Nerds, tech people are shit at communicating. Learn from them. The extroverts, they will help you get in life where you cannot get by yourself. Okay, so just learn from each other and create a team which has a bit of everything, and not just like, okay, we are just tech bros. Don't do that.
Yeah. So one more question a person asked: what did you guys do apart from coding in your college life? What clubs did you join? And
I think Hetal can answer this nicely.
Like, badminton, and I was a part of the badminton team, and then Rhapsody. So yeah, like just go around and enjoy symphony. Actually, the best way to, if you don't have a lot of time to go for external competitions with the team, like with Rhapsody, gyrations, all of that, you will have to invest as much time as you need to invest in CodeCell. So after like the first and second year, when I shifted to CodeCell, I started diverting. Then you can actually make the most of symphony, because even that is fun. Like just be a part of Shield drama, then sports, music, whatever you like. Like it's
Yeah, dude,
fun.
just
And then there's Antakshari as well. If you don't know, and if you don't think that you know anything, just go be part of Shield Antakshari and sing songs, because everyone is based around that. So it does not matter. So just go sit, sing songs, enjoy, and come back.
yeah, like just don't be shy. Like, oh, what would people think or something? Like, just do something. During our year, like started like two new councils. One was Code Cell and Alumni Cell. I also was like part of Team Meta. My biggest motivator was I just want all the free attendance I could get. But it was such a great experience, yes, being part of all this. Like I was doing Photoshop stuff for Alumni Cell, marketing for ETA, like taking us off for CodeCell, also like help student council out in random stuff. And I'm still friends with those people to this day. Like my batchmates, my juniors, some of my seniors. Like, and these friendships are for life. Some of like you can always reach out to them 10 years later, and they would still remember you, and you can talk with them. Like have fun. You literally have zero pressures right now.
I think everyone on the call at some point have said that try to enjoy your bachelor years, because everyone here is now feeling it, how good those was here and what we missed out on.
Yeah, I would have lost half my hair now.
Yeah, I've started to losing my hair too. That's a big thing.
Okay. So a couple of questions more. A person asks, what are the prerequisites for hackathons, and
None.
how good should you be?
None. No, zero prerequisite. You could just take 2 days to design a UI on paper, and that's okay. Was then the next hackathon you would actually think of how to implement it, and then the next one like, oh, how to make it work.
Great insights.
So my first hackathon, no, not my first, my third hackathon, but first during my masters, we had no idea. What we were trying to build was an automatic juicer, where we actually stuck like those plastic buckets to a thing and had servo motors open something at the bottom, which all went into a blender, and we had a servo motor press the button on the blender.
Nice.
Absolutely no clue how any of that worked, but again, you figure it out or you don't.
A fun thing to do still, even if it doesn't work.
Oh, it did not work. Okay, there's no downside to joining a hackathon, even if you don't know how to write print statements.
Oh, I love going to hackathon just for eating the free food and
Yes.
sleeping there. I have done that multiple times. Went there, did not do anything. One hackathon I went to, I actually prepared for another event, like another CTF, while sitting in the hackathon because none of the things were working. And after eating the next day breakfast, we just left. So why not?
Oh, we took the participation certificate and we left.
That was another hackathon. Yeah, we did take the participation certificate because they were like, you have to give a refundable deposit, which you will only get when you leave. So because of that, we had stayed for the participation certificate at that time.
If you really want motivation, I know someone who met his wife at a hackathon. Okay. You never know what's going to happen.
Nice motivator. Yeah. Treat hackathons as a new Tinder for nerds.
Guys, just to add one thing, I went for a hackathon where I got 18 t-shirts of 18 different startups. Till date I had not bought a new t-shirt. Even this is a motivation, so guys.
Fill your wardrobe. Nice.
Like there's literally zero downside to going to one.
Yep.
So one last question, guys. What are some particular things you must try or do in college life academically? What are some milestones that UP can achieve?
There is no milestone. Everyone has a unique path of their own.
And I think the question is like written in bold and like is the most upvoted thing. So we should like answer that particular things. There's no particular things, as Chirag said. Continue.
Considering you are in KJSCE, I think the only milestone could be passing out after 4 years.
Yeah,
Even that
just
which is
passing
not
4 years.
Even that which is not necessary, to be honest, after a point in time. But then, make your parents happy, get a degree out of it.
I mean, at this point, like they are paying a lot, right? Sorry.
So check out this one senior called Connell. Like he almost took a drop, or I don't remember if he took a drop or not to do his internship. And I think that's okay as well.
We had a senior my senior dropped in the last semester of engineering
Oh.
to just go to do like work in a startup. So like he could have waited 4 months and he would have a degree, but
Why are we convincing people to drop all of a sudden?
Not convincing. I'm like, there's no right answer here. That's the thing.
Yeah, there's
Do
no
what
wrong
you want,
answer.
and it's okay.
Yeah. As Chirag mentioned about passing, actually for the new FIs, it's now relative pointer system and not absolute pointer system. So passing has indeed become more challenging.
What does relative pointer system mean? Someone definitely has to fail in that case over X percentile or someone.
Now, it means there's to be one guy who would ruin it for everyone.
Yeah.
No, that determines their pointer. I am thinking about what happens. So even if let's say everyone scores 99 and one guy scores 98, does he fail because he's like the 0th percentile?
No, I don't think it's that kind of relative. It's like the first person sets the 100% mark, and then
Okay.
based on then everyone else's relative score is counted.
So as a collective, if everyone decides not to study, everyone will pass.
Exactly, yes. So that is what, if I was in college right now, I would have convinced my entire class to do just that.
And we all know how mass bunks go, right?
Yeah, but there's always that one person, right?
Yes.
As someone said, the snitch. Try to
That's what
find
college is.
what.
That is what college is banking on. There will be that one person.
Yeah, try to find the pressure point of that one person, and you are good.
Just utha lo.
Okay.
That person is generally the one person who attends every lecture and is traveling from very far, Ulhasnagar, Dombivli, Punjab. So he's like, I've traveled 3 hours every day, so I must attend classes and I must do something. Otherwise, there's no point in traveling.
Dude, I used to get so much shit for it because I live like 2 minutes away from Somaya. And I was always like, oh, he comes from Virar. Why can't you come from Ghatopar?
Yeah, and I think people living close come the last in class. Like they are somehow 10 minutes late always, even though you live like 2 minutes away.
Definitely. So most of the questions have been covered and it's around 10 p.m. So I guess we could conclude. Speaking about it, I would really like to thank you guys for coming to this session, bringing insights that wouldn't have been possible without you guys. As Karan said, Dev is about collaborating. I see that you guys actually believe in it, showed up today, inspiring people not only from 8 years, but till date. There were a lot of insights today. There was a lot of fun, a lot of memories brought back. And I guess we could conclude on the session. Thank you guys for joining. We'll be back soon.
Thank you for inviting us.
Right.
Everyone.
Had a
Bye.
great time,
Thank you
guys.
so much for coming.
And just LinkedIn if you have any questions or whatsoever.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I think all our alumni is available on LinkedIn. Do connect to them. You can feel free to reach out to them there and feel free to reach out to us in college on WhatsApp. Anyway.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thanks, guys.